Hello, boys and ghouls. And welcome to another podcast of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party! Yes, we're back and we're still drinking.
Oh, gosh.
I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Larry STROTHE, and I'm thirsty.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
And I'm James Gonis.
And tonight, or today, whichever time you're listening to this, we are going to be talking about movies, monsters, science fiction that we find terrible, but we love it.
Yes.
Yes.
Terrible, but I love it.
That is the theme, and I'm sure we've all got a lot of ideas of things that we find for some reason we know they're horrible. And we know that they might not.
Debated.
It could be debated.
You know?
But for some reason, even though most of the people who would watch these movies would think they're horrible, for some reason, on almost a subconscious level, we know that they're good. In some way, there's a redeeming quality. There's something about them
special,
that lives in our hearts.
We have affection for them.
We have affection for them.
Sort of like the runt that's not going to survive. And
exactly.
We want it.
You root for it.
Yeah.
Or the
underdog.
runt that you save. Right?
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
not the runt that gets killed.
Yeah, not the
Right.
We want to
Horrible.
Or
save
is
this runt.
sacrificed
Yeah. Not
to
the
the
one that-
wolves out there.
Not the one that you beat out back with a wooden spoon. The one that you bring home.
place.
Yes.
All right, terrible, but I loved it.
Terrible, but we loved it.
Right. Well, I have one that this is kind of a pretty infamous bad movie made from the 60s. It's called The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one.
Kind of a sleazy, terribly acted horror film about a mad surgeon who he's experimenting with organs and stuff, and he basically his fiance dies in a car crash, and she happens to be decapitated, and so he takes her head back to his lab and
Tale
keeps
as old as time.
and he keeps her head alive in a pan, basically, but then from that point on, it's like he's got to go out and find a hot body now for her.
Yeah.
So he basically carouses around the neighborhood where there's just these like hot, sleazy women walking around the sidewalks everywhere.
Oh,
And he tries to find like a shapely body to put on the disembodied head of his fiance, and it's just like it's a horribly acted film, very cheap. But there's kind of some kind of morbid, kind of sleazy qualities about it that are really fun.
But there's more to it than that.
Yeah, well, he's got in the closet in his lab.
What's in the
the sum
closet?
total of all his mistakes?
Yeah.
And it's this kind of conehead like creature.
Yeah.
That's the cool kind of part.
Where's that action figure?
The funny thing about
really.
that is that film is, I always hear that film is considered, that's one of the worst films of all time. But, compared to others, that's actually
on a really
film.
basic level, it's kind of creepy. The monster is a little, you watch it now, you see the flap of the makeup coming off the back of the monster's neck. But it's
I watch
still
a lot of
kinda
Doctor Who,
cool.
so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, but it is kind of, look at it from point of view of like a little kid watching, and late night TV. Kind of cool and actually kind of fairly gory for its time too. Like the assistant gets his arm pulled off by the monster.
That's right.
And the disembodied head, the fiance's head, kind of is in communication, like telepathic communication with the monster, and it's just great. And the main character, Jason Evers, plays him. He's super sleazy, where he's like takes back these women and drugs them, and it's just it has a really sleazy element to it. Which
How is that
really
sleazy?
fun.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Can you imagine though? Can you imagine, Sean, that film? It's like a cult classic. Can
It
you
is
imagine
kinda,
if someone were to remake that, with the effects of today,
Yeah,
that actually could be really
it sounds
a cool,
a little
creepy
bit
film.
to me like Steve Martin's The Man with Two Brains.
It has aspects of that. Actually,
Yeah.
you're right.
Borrowed from it, at least. But I also find that the brain in the pan. Do you know the name of that actress, by the way? I'm just curious.
No, I don't know, but she's good.
She's over the top, but she is very effective.
Yeah,
and there is a certain charm there where you go, I think I almost want to find you a hot body as well. Like, I will work together with this movie.
Before she loses her head, she's pretty sexy, and then she gets killed off pretty quickly, or she gets decapitate pretty quickly in the movie. But yeah, it's a fun movie, and actually would make a great double feature with The Frozen Dead, which also features kind of attractive woman who gets her head not lopped off and is in a pan in a basement in a lab. But that's a different movie.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate genre.
But Rain That Wouldn't Die, kind of a cult classic in a way, but considered a bad movie. And yeah, it is, but it's pretty entertaining though.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of redeeming qualities to that movie.
Yeah, totally.
And it is strangely watchable every time.
Yeah.
Every time I put it in my DVD player, I tend to want to watch it.
Not to be confused with The Thing That Couldn't Die, which is another disembodied head movie from Universal about like an evil devil worshiper from like the 1600s whose head is found and takes over people. Anyway,
that one's kind of scary.
That's actually a good movie too.
Yeah, that one's
another
kind of scary.
disembodied head theme.
There's a whole disembodied head genre.
That's
we have to explore.
That's a whole other
future.
show.
Yeah, totally.
That's a whole other show.
But what about The Thing with Two Heads?
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, that's
Rosie Greer.
Yeah,
and
Rick Baker
Milland.
actually designed the ape. I
Ray
think, in
Milland?
that. Yeah,
Ray
Ray
Milland,
Milland,
yeah. And
or
that's a good terrible movie that you love.
And the Incredible Two-Headed Transplant.
Yeah.
Another bad sleazy movie with Bruce Dern.
Wow.
But the one that
amazingly.
but if you've never seen The Thing with Two Heads, that's one to check out because you've got it's very much a thing of its time.
Oh my God, yeah.
You've got a
Was that
racist.
70. What was the date on it? It was
like
70,
early 70s.
Yeah,
probably.
gotta be early 70s. Yeah, but you got a racist connected to the head of a black guy. And so you got the entire civil rights
Oh my God, yeah.
movement being played out on one body.
And it has about a 45-minute car chase in the middle of the movie, which of course all 70s films had at that time.
Of course, yeah.
Prerequisite.
Well, one of my favorites, though, a film that many people consider to be terrible, but I love it, is a film called Star Crash. And one of the cool things about this film is I remember when the movie came out, Star Wars had come out, and everyone, all kids that were my age, they're dying for science fiction, space stuff or whatever. Anything.
Right.
And Star Crash was thrown together, including the wooden spaceship. They were like pieces of wood slapped together, spray painted white. They took model pieces, even the trees are the model pieces.
Well, now this was an Italian production, right?
Yeah,
This is an Italian, right?
Yeah. And they put little blinking lights on with little batteries, and were flying them through space, and even space itself, which I actually kind of liked. It's kind of more of a darkish blue with like Christmas lights, and it's so pretty and sparkling.
Yeah.
It's actually so beautiful. And Christopher Plummer, who we all remember, who plays Captain Von Trapp from The Sound of Music, is got a big part in it, and
his best role,
to his
obviously.
dismay.
Yeah, and when I actually saw the film in the theater because I was like one of these little kids who was dying to see it, and I remember seeing it with the people around were like, "Ow!" In fact, some people left before the film ended.
Dare they?
And I wanted to stay in the theater and watch it a second time, but my folks were picking
Well, let's
us up.
not forget the main attraction of this movie,
Yes,
which is
Carolyn Monroe. Yes,
lovely
the
Carolyn
lovely,
Monroe.
gorgeous,
who's great.
amazing Carolyn.
Not
Monroe.
Marjo Gorner.
No. But
she could not have been. That was like at her hottest.
Yeah. And so so the special effects, they may be a little cheesy. There's some stop motion animation. They were trying to do everything they could on a low budget.
Totally.
But what I loved about it was just the colors and
It's a lot of fun.
It's a
very
fun,
vibrant.
It's a fun movie, but I do know a lot of people think of it as being a terrible science fiction film. In fact, if you look at Star Wars, if that's the pinnacle that had just come out, people are expecting Star Wars,
Right, but
and it was not Star Wars.
On an entertainment level, though, it's pretty good.
At least for me. So
There's
to me,
a lot
that was
going on
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all times.
a film that they even fought with something similar to lightsabers.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yes.
rip it off.
And it's got David Hasselhoff in it, for God's sake.
That's right, David Hasselhoff, and so this is one of my terrible, but I loved it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree. Completely.
And again, I believe that was the method that they used, where they just painted everything one solid color, and then they then they just like aimed different colored lights at it.
Yeah.
to give it
right.
Yeah,
And like the bad guy's ship was like a giant claw, kind of.
Yeah,
It was like
like
a giant
this
hand that
and-
closed.
Yeah, and they used
Joe Spinell.
They
from
used
Maniac.
Spinell, yeah, for
stop
Maniac.
motion animation to do
Yeah.
that.
One of my favorite parts in that movie, which that was the thing. It's funny how like I bought into everything else in that movie, and then
I know what you're
this
gonna say.
one
Yep,
thing
yep.
where the alien, they're shooting in rockets at a space station. The rockets then would crash through a window.
Just a pane glass window.
Just a regular window, no kind of no vacuum problems or anything like the rocket would land in the ship, and then the rocket would open up, and there'd be two guys inside with laser rifles, and just start shooting at people.
But Matt, I had never seen that before. That was so cool.
And you never will again.
I was appalled and thrilled at the same time. I was like, that is so absurd.
So
Bravo.
That is a film. If I catch that, if it happens to be on TV, I have it on. I go, oh.
It's great fun.
Colorful, well-paced.
I have one that's a more shameless Italian ripoff of a 70s blockbuster, and that is The Last Shark.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that
Shameless
one.
Ripoff of Jaws.
That James Franciscus.
And Vic Morrow.
Yeah.
Playing a very thinly veiled Robert Shaw Quint imitation.
Extremely thin.
And I, it's hard to really love this movie because it's so. The reason that I love it is not for the merits of the movie itself, but because of the audacity, the sheer gall of not mimicking only Jaws, but Jaws 2 with teenagers and windsurfers and a regatta competition.
Wasn't this the film that Universal tried to file suit against?
They did file suit and they succeeded.
No,
Wasn't it called Great White?
It was also called Great White
When it was,
originally,
I briefly remember seeing posters for it. Yeah,
and then they also tried to retitle it The Last Jaws.
wow.
No. So get themselves even more trouble.
Wait, can you find this? Can you find this on DVD? Is it out there?
Yeah, it's out there.
Oh my!
I think it's it's like available in like other, like not this country, but yes.
Oh, amoeba, here I come.
The great thing about it is that one of the amazing things about it is that the shark
worked.
Got this huge. Not only did it work, but they had it. It was like this big styrofoam. They didn't do a bad job with it, but it didn't move like any shark naturally moves. Its head just keeps bobbing out of the water,
and it also kind of roars like a dragon, right?
Yeah.
It's more like the shark ride in Universal Studios.
Yes, exactly.
Got loose.
Nice and slow. It just sort of comes up, gives you plenty of time to see its face, and it'll bite people at the torso, and then you've got this bloody half body hanging out. And it's not like a quick glimpse like in the Spielberg movie. They've got the torso bloody just sort of
What's the Italians?
There.
Come on.
Yeah,
the
right.
Italians.
Exactly.
I've got to.
From the Fulci skull of
I've got to see this
exactly.
movie. I've got to see this one.
And James Franciscus. And
isn't this one where Vic Morrow's accent really goes all over the place?
Yeah,
Kind of
he does
he's
this crazy
Scottish,
sort of
then
Lucky
he's
Charms
then he's like,
accent.
it's a really strange
Lucky
accent.
Charms. He's Irish and Scottish.
Kind of, yeah. It's really bizarre.
Wow.
And this was directed by Enzo Castellari. Who,
Oh, yeah.
Quentin Tarantino's
Prolific.
a big fan of.
Prolific Italian director.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his work.
Anyway, again, sheer audacity. I can't really say I want to take this movie to my grave or a desert island with me, but
I might.
I do enjoy it.
If it's on, you watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Matt?
Well, kind of along the lines of Star Crash, I really enjoy, and now this is a truly bad movie, but there are some great moments, and just overall it's so absurd that I find it entertaining, and that is the movie Laser Blast.
Oh, yeah.
Starring, well, I don't know about starring, but Roddy McDowall is in it.
Right.
And what is Eddie Deason?
Is Eddie Deason? I can't remember if he's there. Okay, right.
This and Starship Invasions were the very first science fiction movies out right after Star Wars.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what
jumping
I
on the
remember.
bandwagon.
And it's
right.
what happens is and somehow a human being gets an alien laser pistol from a bunch of aliens,
Right.
and is on the run from them, and they're sort of chasing him down. They shoot him, but for some reason they decide not to pick up the laser pistol that they've been trying to track down. So another kid finds it in the desert, gets it, and also there's a necklace that goes along with it, so he puts on the necklace, and that sort of activates everything.
Yeah, and it's kind of like by using it, he becomes more like the alien kind of, right?
He becomes like, he starts to
Like
grow.
a slave to the
his
weapon.
His brow gets bigger. He's, for some reason, his eyes get sort of cloudy like contact lens, and then he goes on a killing spree. And it's so stupid and so funny, but there's some great animation by
Dave Allen.
Dave Allen,
Yep.
very nice.
Yeah, kind of turtle-looking.
Great aliens, great
aliens.
spaceship.
Yeah.
And it's so silly, and there are so many threads of the story that go off into nowhere. And you're like, that's fine. That was actually as much as I wanted of that part of the story anyway. So I'm glad you guys just abruptly said, we're done. But yeah, that's a big favorite of mine, and it's just a mess.
Yeah,
But a glorious
that's
one.
fun.
So if
That's a
that's
good
on
one.
TV, you gotta
Yeah,
watch
check
it.
it out.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Larry, how about you? Any more?
Oh well, yeah. I have a few. One I was trying to debate which one of these I would want to do, but there is this one. I guess it's called two titles. One is just Gappa.
All right.
It's Monster from a Prehistoric Planet.
Right.
Now, it's kind of the retelling of the Gorgo story.
Japanese monster.
It was Japanese monster. And it's so basically there's this monster that's a large monster and it's captured, and little does everyone know that there's these giant parents that are out there that are trying to find this, which is this monster, which is really a baby. Okay, and I remember seeing this film as a kid. I was in this little show, and we were in Salinas, and they had this bus that was going to take all the kids back, and it just so happened that this movie Gappa was on TV, and I didn't want to leave in the middle. I went, I'll just go with all the grips and electricians. So I waited till it was over at like 11:30 at night, so I could see the damn film. And then I went with all the adults, going back home. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see how it ends. And, these creatures that fly, it's really people in these costumes, and you can actually see as they leap off, they're kind of like swinging.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And but I guess because of the time, it was I was a kid. I was like 7 or 8, and I just could any large monster film I really wanted to see.
Monster.
So and I actually passed up going home with all the other kids just so I could see it. And darn it, I stand by that. And if that film is on tonight or today, or I'll walk by and go, oh, it's Gappa. I think I'll leave that on. And it is, it's not considered a classic like Godzilla or even Gorgo,
It was like another company, too.
Yeah,
it wasn't even Toho. It wasn't Dai Studios.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't. But when that is on, I do watch it. So in a way, it could be a guilty pleasure. But it is considered to be not a great large monster film. So terrible, but I loved it.
It's actually used in the TV series Red Dwarf. It's actually
it's right in the credit sequence.
Yeah, footage from that movie is used as an example of horribly done monsters.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. See, so there you go.
Cool. Well, I have one from the 50s, kind of like a so-called comedy from the 50s, called Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. This is a strange film where it was. This is kind of like the comedy horror genre where they would have like, you have comedy teams, like Abbott and Costello and the Ritz Brothers, and the Bowery Boys would always be in like monster vehicles, horror vehicles. So this is a case where this kind of short-lived comedy duo of Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo, and they were basically a Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis copycat team. They were like they would just be they were doing Martin and Lewis, and it was really odd. And like Duke Mitchell was kind of vaguely looked like Dean Martin and sang not very well.
No.
But Sammy Petrillo would just do like a dead-on Jerry Lewis. He looked a lot like him. And so they put him in this movie where it's like your typical, doctor in the mad doctor in the jungle, played by Bela Lugosi, experimenting with apes, and there's jungle girls, and it's your typical kind of like low-budget jungle horror film with this comedy duo in the middle of it, and like Duke Mitchell's doing these like these song numbers, and it's just so weird, and it's like so bizarre.
But isn't that it's the weirdest thing that you would have these people go? It's like if you went, what if I just pretended I was Gary Cooper?
Yeah,
and just did Gary Cooper movies.
Yeah, and I don't know how many movies he's got. I do know that I think Jerry Lewis. I don't know if he succeeded. I think he actually did try to sue Sammy Petrillo for his character, his caricature during him. I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, it was kind of a controversial thing. It's a pretty terrible movie, but it's actually kind of entertaining. And Bela Lugosi, and this is Lugosi in the early 50s, so this is not your spry young Lugosi, although strangely he's pretty game and energetic in this one. You wouldn't think he would be, but it's kind of, and it's a typical thing where Duke Mitchell turns into a gorilla, and or Sammy Petrillo thinks he does, and it's really just a monkey. And but it's kind of ridiculous, but it is kind of entertaining, and just for pure like bizarre value, bizarreness of it. It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, the idea that you could just that would be your career.
Yeah,
to think that would be a good idea. I'm going to steal the characters of the #1 comedy team in America,
time,
maybe in the world at that time.
Yeah. And just the fact that it's called Bela Lugosi beats a Brooklyn Gorilla, so they're using Lugosi's name in the title, which is strange. It's just it's a pretty strange one, but fun. It's a good late night TV.
So if that's on,
it's such an oddity that you have to check it out.
That's what it is.
You'll watch it.
Yeah, it's so odd that it's like you kind of can't believe it. Just what you just watched. Yeah, so that's a good one.
Well, my next pick is going to be a little bit controversial.
Oh no!
You might
Thank
not
God.
think it belongs on this list.
I think I might.
It is
The Ten Commandments.
Now that is a great film. Doesn't necessarily belong here.
It's kind of scary.
It's a
Stick turns into a snake.
Gone with the Wind.
Another great film.
It's George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. Now,
That's an interesting pick.
Now, it's been a few years,
considered-
and I know that it's considered a part of the zombie canon and even, a very important part of the Romero trilogy in its own right. But when I saw it in 1985 at a theater, my expectations were high, and I was extremely disappointed, as I think a lot of people were.
I think you're right. I
agree.
Yeah, because at the time it didn't do well, and it kind of got a lot of flack at the time. It's since been kind of maybe recognized a little bit more.
Even Romero himself said, "This isn't the movie I wanted to make.
Right,
My
right.
budget was limited. I wanted to do something more ambitious on an island." Finally, he did make a movie on an island, but I don't think it was the
That
one he
wasn't
had
that
in
good
mind.
either.
Right.
But you think about Night of the Living Dead, you think about Dawn of the Dead, and these movies had characters that you sort of cared about and you were willing to follow, and you hope that they pulled through. Day of the Dead, I don't know. I mean,
Everyone's kind of unlikable.
Well, they did also suffer from some bad acting too.
Horrible acting.
Yeah.
That's the main problem, I think.
Yeah, I kind of Although the premise I love.
For all these years, I've been really sort of disparaging my head or just being disappointed in hindsight about Day of the Dead, but seeing it on more occasions and thinking about it in hindsight, which is why I bring it up in this episode, is that there are so many things about it that are good and important, as far as the development of the zombie movie, like, the research and, cohabiting with them in society.
Trying to train them.
Right.
Right.
Trying to train them and feed them and everything that's become part of the zombie mythos. That, it's a movie that could be seen in retrospect as being much better than it was in the beginning. Even though...
Like a little ahead of its time in a way, right?
Yes. Yeah. Although it's still my least favorite of the trilogy. Certainly light years ahead of Land of the Dead.
Sure.
And Diary of the
Oh,
Dead.
and which is god awful.
It's awful. I would rather have gone back in time and not seen Land of the Dead.
Oh, wow.
Diary of the Dead I liked a little bit more, but
that
I
was
don't like that either.
Terrible.
I actually like Land of the Dead a little better than Diary of the Dead. I don't think it's that terrible, but both of those sequels don't mean much in the compared to the trilogy.
But Day of the Dead, for the strong points of that movie, great zombies.
Yeah.
Like the makeup.
Yeah, some of the
incredible
best.
makeup.
Much better than Dawn.
Yeah.
And the sort of apocalyptic
Claustrophobic.
aura of that entire movie is just is something that was very different from the other two.
Right.
And the idea that this is the last leg of humanity on Earth.
And
Yeah.
the fact that you had a character who was Caribbean and could talk about that the roots of the zombie to the Caribbean island, which is a nice way to tie in the zombie legend. Also, John Rubinstein's score, which is the first time Romero didn't use library tracks in one of the zombie movies, and yet is consistent with the mood of those other movies. It's a nice score. And
interesting score.
I think, if I remember correctly, it's a really cheesy 80s love theme at the end, which I've even grown to love as well. So there's my entry.
Yeah,
And there's some great, some very innovative scares, things that you don't really expect, like all the hands coming through the wall. In the dream sequence. That's very clever.
And there's one scene where the guy's arm is bitten and he has to lop off the arm. I mean, that's pretty damn
pretty effective.
creepy, yeah.
And I think that there's no way that we can leave out Bub.
Right. Bub has become
great
One of the
character.
greatest characters of zombie history. I mean,
arguably the greatest zombie character in zombie history.
and the best actor in that entire film.
Yeah, I agree.
Really great.
Yeah.
And really does a good job with, that could be one of those roles that's kind of thankless where, someone's just kind of playing at one note and,
Right.
and sort of indicating all over the place that, hey, you know, I've got a little bit of intelligence in me. But that is a role, and I'm trying to remember the name of the actor who played that.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Unfortunately,
suck.
yeah. Come on, we're
I'm sure there are
What's wrong
people
with
out
us?
there
Yeah, yeah.
who probably know exactly what
We
we're
know who
talking
he is.
about,
We're
and they're
just-
saying,
yeah.
"You morons! That's so."
I'm blanking on it now.
yeah,
We've had a couple.
but he's
so-
great. Yeah,
We have no
But-
right to do this show.
But I'll think of it
you
tomorrow.
call yourself an expert, for God's sakes?
But really great.
Give me another one.
Okay, well-
terrible, but I love it.
I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction.
All right.
I've got a little movie called Village of the Giants.
oh yeah,
Bird-Eye Gordon.
Yeah.
Bird-Eye Gordon.
Mr. Big.
Yeah.
B.I.G.
A terrifically horrible movie, loosely based on H.G. Wells' Food of the Gods, and I guess it would be a post Mayberry appearance by Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, that's right. Or he's known as Ronnie.
yeah.
Ronnie
Ronnie
Howard.
Howard,
yeah.
that's right.
Ronnie Howard.
And Tommy Crawford.
Tommy Kirk
Tommy Kirk.
and
Tommy
Bo
Kirk.
Bridges.
Bo Bridges
Yeah,
is in
Tommy
the film.
Kirk and
That's
Bo
right.
Bridges.
Right, yeah.
Tommy Kirk and Bo Bridges, and also an appearance by the Bo Brummels
That's right.
and,
And
No relation to Bo
and
Bridges.
Tony Basil
Tony Basil.
as
That's
a
right.
rather hot go-go dancer.
Very hot.
Oh.
And it's great. I mean, just from the very beginning, where there's this sort of just gang of like these bad surfer-esque preppy assholes, and they
you think they'd be like more delinquent looking than
Yeah, but
they actually look
yeah.
like good clean-cut
everyone's
kids,
yeah,
actually.
they look like-
everyone's very properly dressed,
Yeah, yeah.
considering their evilness.
But they've
they
got-
crash their car, and it's raining, and instead of getting upset, they turn rain into lemonade. They get out of the car and they turn up the radio and start dancing.
They're wild
dance.
teenagers.
Yeah,
They
and they dance,
dance.
and they dance, and they dance, and there's a lot of
There's a
dancing.
lot- there is
and
a
there's a
lot
lot
of
of scenes where, at one point, they turn into Ronnie Howard, Brain,
Yeah.
creates this thing called goo. And that's the thing that makes everybody into giants. The bad guys take it, become giants, then take
Right.
over
So
the town.
Delinquent teenagers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
They take over the town.
They seem to go very slowly. Have you,
Yeah.
Well, especially
because they're
and the minute they turn into giants, they
Yeah.
then have of course, another dance party,
Of course.
right.
and that party goes on for.
But they do these things where there's extreme close-ups of like the breast area, and
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of very very hot women, and
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
who's
yeah.
the woman who's in that? Who plays the
Yeah, she always
hot
plays
chick
kind
in
of
Cool Hand Luke,
the airhead, kind of blonde.
Yeah,
I forget her name.
But she's
great.
there's a lot of eye candy in that movie.
Yeah.
and some hilarious special effects.
Well, yeah, like the giant feet, the giant legs. Like all
Yeah,
they could
they-
afford to make really were like legs from the feet to the knees.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
paper mache
Yeah,
legs
yeah.
with some phony leg hair.
And how about those giant dancing ducks? How
Yeah,
did they
that's
do
right.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched that film. I go, how did they do that?
The
Those
Bo
dancing
Brummels are
ducks.
playing, and all of a sudden, giant ducks walk in there, and
Right.
they start wiggling and dancing
Nobody
to the
seems
music
to
of the Bo.
care.
Yeah,
Oh
no
my
one cares.
God.
No one is horrified. Oh my God, we're being overrun by giant ducks. When if in this movie, Night of the Lepus.
It's a different story.
All right.
Those were evil bunnies.
And Tony
These
Kirk,
are
Tony Kirk
happy
wears like
ducks.
short pants that no man should be wearing.
That's true.
Well,
yeah.
don't
True.
get me started.
Look,
Yeah, yeah.
and if you guys out there have not seen this movie, I would recommend it.
Yeah,
It is a
It does
lot
actually
of
have a
fun.
pretty catchy music score.
Yeah, there's a lot of great music in it, and
Yeah.
it's bonkers. And aside from the extended dancing scenes, it's worth a
Yeah.
watch.
It is still considered terrible, but
Yeah.
we love it. I mean,
Exactly.
it is
Yeah.
that is a fun film. That
Exactly.
I really do. Well, not to jump the gun here, but there is a classic. Well, it's not considered a classic 3D film. It's just a 3D film. But back in the day when they were starting with the 3D films, they did It Came from Outer Space and Creature from the Black Lagoon, House of Wax. Well, there was this film called The Maze. And not
yeah.
to give anything away, because when I saw it, they were making a big deal about telling people, don't tell anyone how it ends. But the film stars Richard Carlson, who had just done It Came from Outer
Right.
Space, which was hugely successful. But before they were doing A Creature from the Black Lagoon, he did this little low-budget film called The Maze. So Richard Carlson is this regular guy. He's got this really hot fiancée, and they're going to get married. But all of a sudden, he gets this letter that his old uncle needs him off in England to help with the estate. And so off he goes to kind of help.
Always
with
a bad
the
idea.
estate. Huh?
Always a bad idea.
Yeah, and then the fiancée wonders why she hasn't heard from him, whatever, and she does a little snooping, and she goes to this castle to learn this horrible secret about the maze. And what's really cool about this film, again, it was a low-budget 3D film. It didn't do that well. But what's cool about it is I understand that because it was low budget, the camera guys who were going to operate the 3D camera, at the time, there was only like one 3D camera place in town, and they said, look, if we rent the camera to you, we want profits, from your movie. And they said, well, forget that. So the camera guy, the DP, said, I think I could create my own little 3D camera. So he created his own little tinker and made this own 3D camera. And it worked for The Maze. And the production company that did The Maze, they were so happy with it, they used it for their next little 3D film. And there is a monster in it or some kind of creepy thing. So, not considered to be one of the greatest or classic 3D films, but it is one of these films that it's not great, but I love it. I really, really do.
It sounds great, though.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like something, like a hidden treasure.
Well, and because it's a low-budget film, they did so many things to try to, like The Maze itself is really... It's like four bushes. I think the actors would walk by, and then the next shot they just move the bushes a little bit. Right. But and it's like little stuff like that. It's just it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So
that's very Doctor Who.
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
The same corridor.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
exactly.
1900 times.
Yeah. So terrible, but I liked it.
Well, here's one. This is kind of a very different track here, but this is early 70s low budget movie called Octoman. Octoman is basically a man in the suit monster. This was like, really bad. It's like there's like a scientific expedition in Mexico, and the waters are all filled with radiation, and it spawned this this monster, and this monster is like
Octoman.
It's it's an Octoman.
Don't bury the lead.
It's this kind of really pretty amazing creation. Actually, one of Rick Baker's early
Baker
monsters.
did it?
Yeah, it's like this giant octopus face with like tentacles, and he walks around upright, and it's ridiculous looking, but kind of
cool at the same time.
Kind of endearing. And the movie is like really pretty badly paced, really super low budget, but it's got as a kid, when you watch these movies, one thing that appeals to you when you're a kid is how much screen time does the monster get in these films. And Octoman, he's just walking around the whole film the whole time. I mean, you see him pretty early on in the movie, and he's walking around killing people and throughout the whole movie. So that's the plus,
I've got to see this.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. No.
Who's the actor in that?
Kerwin Matthews.
Kerwin Matthews.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Yeah. Kerwin Matthews
from Seventh Voyages in Bed,
and Jack the Giant Killer,
and Jeff Moreau is in it too.
No.
Yeah, and
oh my god, I love these guys.
It's a Hollywood collector's show in one film.
Really. Pier Angeli. I don't know if you know she was kind of like a tragic actress who she had a romance with Kirk Douglas, James Dean. She died like really young age of a barbiturate overdose. I think right before this movie came out. Wow. But it's an interesting film, and kind of like your classic kind of creature feature late night TV movie. Kind of fun. What's funny though, I always thought the title of the movie it's Octoman. Octaman, but it shouldn't be Octoman.
Right, it's Octoman.
It's not octopus. It's octopus. So
any fool could realize.
But that's what gives it
why
its
that
charm.
wasn't changed? Yeah,
Well, I'm going to have to check that one out. I'm not
kind of fun. Yeah, it's like super poverty-stricken creature feature movie, but kind of fun if you're in the right mood.
So
it's almost like somebody like over the phone. What's the name of your movie?
Octoman.
Octoman.
Yeah.
That's going to sell tickets.
Oh, and by the way, directed by Harry Essex. Essex. Now, Harry Essex was the screenwriter for the original Creature from the Black Lagoon, and It Came from Outer Space.
Well, there's debate about that.
Well, yes, but he was a screenwriter who wrote a lot of classic films in the 50s.
I didn't know that he directed that.
Yeah, and so he kind of branched out and directed some really cheap movies in the 70s.
Okay, I'm definitely going to check it out.
He was like
now.
105 at that time.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I want the Octoman.
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 My next pick is a British movie from 1963, and it's called Devil Doll.
Oh.
Now,
yeah.
This has got a great cult reputation, so you might argue it doesn't really belong in this list, but it is a really typical sort of B programmer, late night, low budget, black and white horror movie. And it's about a magician and hypnotist who has a ventriloquist dummy that comes to life and kills people. Not like, Anthony Hopkins, like it's really him the whole time. Spoiler alert. But it's...
it's a good thing you're saying that now. Boy, I just turned off my radio.
Look, if you haven't seen Magic, I just saved you the trouble, okay?
Yeah, you did actually.
I just saved 2 years of your life. For some reason, the
Yes.
British, between, Devil Doll and Dead of Night handled the whole ventriloquist dummy thing much better in feature films than we do in the U.S. Although, Twilight Zone.
Yeah, there's a couple of Twilight Zone episodes. Did a good job.
Yeah. But Devil Doll is legitimately creepy, and it's actually got a story that's, that has to do with soul transference and trying to explain how the dummy's alive. And a guy who plays the magician, who actually does a really good job. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he was also the star of The Projected Man, I believe. I can't remember his name, but another great movie.
Yeah, I enjoy that one.
Yeah, I guess Alzheimer's is setting in here on Monster Party. We can't remember any actor's name.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
We are going a little bit off the grid, though.
Well, I've had like several of these cocktails.
Yeah.
So it's like
But even with a clear head, I think these are a little obscure.
But the first time I saw Devil Doll was on late night TV in New York, and I couldn't believe how entertaining it was. And it still holds up. It's really atmospheric. It's done on a dime, but it's done really, really well.
Kind of sleazy a little bit too, right?
It is,
There's
yeah.
like
I was
some
about to say
sleazy
that. There's
elements.
a tawdry sort of element to it.
Because the magician's assistants, they're these sort of leggy, busty British chicks.
Yeah, the best kind.
Yeah. And, the dummy also does the magician's dirty work for him. He's killing people. So it does have that kind of, there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say gore, but, there's some knife action
There's a
involved.
little edge to it.
Yeah. It's not strictly psychological, but it's really creepy and definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
Is
That's
it
a good one.
Is it Devil Doll or the Devil Doll?
Just Devil Doll.
Devil Doll.
60s, yeah.
And not to
Okay.
be confused with the Devil Doll science fiction film made in the U.S.
Right.
with
Oh my! How many cocktails did you have? How many did you have?
Oh, demon booze.
Oh, curse you, alcohol!
Children,
Curse you!
do not let this happen to you.
Kids, stay in school.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that we all find that's terrible, but we love it.
Yes.
I think we got to get into a little bit of this, which is there's two versions of the Island of Dr. Moreau. Both are kind of awful, but also great in the same way. There's the 70s one with Burt Lancaster and Michael York,
Right.
which has some great John Chambers makeup.
Yeah.
And Barbara Carrera.
Fun cast.
Who is... I need a cold compress right now. But there's it's not the greatest movie in the world, but there's a lot of... I've seen it so many times; it's almost like an old friend.
Yeah, it was like kind of like a staple on early cable in the 70s. It was always on, you know. Yeah.
And for the makeup alone,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
worth checking in, and it's also pretty faithful to the book. On the other hand, there's the John Frankenheimer movie starring Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer, which is berserk. It is so funny and wrong, and yet somehow it works for me. Like, that's one I find really entertaining, very funny. Brando doing these things like he wears that crazy hat and then pours ice in it, and there's the tiny Meling character who's his sort of his servant, who again, another strange use of someone who has handicap, I guess you would call it.
Right.
Well, I don't think he'd call it a handicap.
Well, maybe, but
But now, didn't that film have a very strange production history? Like it was John Frankenheimer originally, or he took over
think
for
he
another
took-
director?
I believe-
Val Kilmer was supposed to play a different character.
Yeah, or
And then
something.
he
Yeah,
decided, no, I
the
want to
original
play
director, I think, left. Yeah.
yeah. And I always heard, I
It's
don't
because
know.
of Val Kilmer, probably.
Well, I heard that there was a little bit of tension between Brando and Val Kilmer, and this is a story I heard. It's anecdotal, but the story I heard was, I guess Val Kilmer, it's Brando. He's working with Brando, so he kind of wants to get close to this legend of acting. So he, Brando is taken off in his limo, and Val Kilmer runs up to him and goes, hey, I'd really like to, maybe we should get together and have dinner sometime and, talk about acting. And Brando just goes, I don't think so. And just rolls up the electric window, takes off like, oh, wow.
Wow.
So there is justice in this world.
There is some interesting makeup effects too, right? Some interesting creatures in that, right?
Some good makeup.
Right, yeah.
But it's one of those things that's not like Plan 9, which is so bad it's good. There's so many things, just divergent ideas happening at the same time,
right,
that somehow it's a mess that works, that is genuinely entertaining and funny. Very, very funny.
Yeah, that's worth rediscovering that one.
All right, any last minute entries here?
Boy,
Got anything?
I got nothing. But we brought up a bunch of really amazing films.
Well, I would do some shout outs to
go ahead.
Halloween 3.
Halloween. Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
I would do a
that's
shout
a good
out
one.
to Ben, the sequel to Willard.
Oh yeah,
which went off in a completely different direction.
right. When it's like a kids' film.
Blackula, which
That's an arguable
I thought that
one.
was a good film.
well, it's gained. It is a good film, and it's gained a great reputation, and it is a classic, rightfully.
in its own way, right?
And there's an action figure now.
Yes, there is a fantastic action figure.
Yeah, that my wife got me
Considering-
for my anniversary.
Considering the circumstances that that it was made in, and is the height of blaxploitation, it's the reason I find it to be such a guilty pleasure is that normally the odds would have been against a movie like this being as good as it is.
Right. Right.
I would argue that I don't know if it belongs to the category terrible, but I loved it because I think that the film, I don't think it is terrible. I think it is, as blaxploitation films go.
Yeah.
This is it's a good film, and there are a lot of great creepy moments in there.
I'd buy that.
Well, William Marshall is fantastic.
He's great, and I think really the only
Great voice.
terrible part is the fact that they named him Blackula.
Yeah, really, right.
That's really the only
Right.
real strike against it.
Right.
Yeah, I would throw in there Horror of Party Beach. Great, bizarre, bad yet memorable Gilman copies.
Yeah, yeah. Ridiculous monsters, but lots of fun.
And I would also throw in Jason X, which is
Oh yeah, the 10th.
or Jason 10.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, which is the one where Jason is in space.
Right.
And
Of course he is.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that that's
Where
a
else would he
horrible
be?
movie, but it's not a horrible movie. It is a satire on the whole Jason franchise.
It's very entertaining.
Very entertaining, very funny. Cameo by Cronenberg.
Was that the
That's
last
right.
Jason of that?
No,
series?
there were ones
there's
after
like
that.
75 more.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that.
yeah.
Well, did they at least get to 13?
No, I think they're on 12. I think the remake was the 12th. I think the latest one I believe was the 12th.
They don't get back to space. I can tell you that.
No.
Not yet.
Oh, that's a
The
shame.
leprechaun shows up in one of them, I believe.
Yeah, another terrible but good.
Yeah, that's actually
All right.
true. Yeah.
Well,
So there's lots of stuff out there.
Yeah, we've
folks.
crested, I think, now.
Yes.
Leprechaun in space. Yeah, you're not going to be able to top that.
Yeah, no way.
All right, folks. Well, this has been another blast. We've had a blast. We hope you had a blast. This is Monster Party, and watch horror films. Keep America strong.
That's right.